Validating a Best Practice by Yves Van Newland and Grace L. Duffy. The best method provides tools to identify which of many good practices that are offered are indeed best practices, good enough to use as a benchmark for process excellence. Hi, I'm Ed Nodland, co-founder of Jetstream Innovations. This is a short demonstration of Yves and Grace's best tool using our gap cross assessment platform. It's all based on the material out of chapter 3 in their book. I'm going to get myself off the screen. Carrie Black of CK Black Group and I have developed a variety of assessments based on local, national, and international regulations. This October, Grace Duffy presented the best tool during an American Society for Quality meeting. Carrie and I recognized the value of benchmarking good and best practices and instantly saw the potential for this tool as a gap cross application. For the short demo, I will show the evaluation spreadsheet from chapter 3, the process of performing a gap cross assessment, program authoring and flexible modifications that are possible, and the gap cross marketplace. Let's start with the spreadsheet. The tool contains 4 components: results, enablers, management, and format. Evaluation of the results is the first part of this, and it's broken down into criteria and characteristics of those criteria. So we have things like scope and relevance, integrity of the data, segmentation, trends, and so on. The enabler section is an evaluation of the approaches. The enabler is a method, approach, or process used by the company to achieve the results they are documenting as a best practice. Whether a formal model, such as the Malcolm Baldrige Performance Excellence Model, the European Foundation for Quality Management Model, or another structured organizational design process, the enabler has the same basic format. That format can be separated into the 4 phases of the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle. So for each of those phases of the cycle, again, we have criteria and characteristics relating to the planning phase, do, check, and act. All of these are described in much more detail in the book, and each of these criteria and characteristics are evaluated on whether it's a 0%, what I want to say, success in documentation, up to 100. Now, these different parameters here are spelled out, 25% being some evidence, 50% evidence describes significant evidence, and 100% if that item, that criteria can be considered a benchmark. Okay, I'm just looking here. The last 2 categories is evaluating management of the processes and evaluating the description of the format of that best process. I'm going to minimize this. Hold on just one second. And I want to jump into gap cross and show you how that is built up in the application. I'm already signed on to gap cross and I'm on the home dashboard. From here, I can start a new assessment. I can also go on to the assessment dashboard and start an assessment from here. I'll click start. I'll enter the name for the program. I'm just going to call this BP Demo 14. Got my cap locks reversed. I'll pick the program, validating a best practice. And I could select a client. I'm just going to uncheck this. I could select a date out in the future and schedule it for that. I'm going to start. This jumps straight into the assessment. You can see a few of the sections over here on the side, and I can expand a section to see the questions within inside of it. It starts off with some informational question types, and I'm going to just say proceed here. Here's the second one. I want to point out something here about the resources, the references. In this case, it's a reference, takes us to where we can acquire the book. That takes us out here to the publisher's website. I'll go ahead and proceed from here. And for this demo, I'm going to skip over the summary and information and jump right into the scope section. There's two key questions that are asked up front. Is there a written description of the process? Yes, and I'll proceed. If I don't hit proceed, it doesn't record my answer. And the second one, are there measurable parameters for the results? Again, I'll say yes. Now, if I don't have measurable parameters and I don't have the process described, there's really no point in going on. So with these two answered, and both positively, the other sections of the spreadsheet that we saw earlier pop up here. I want to go take a look at just a general question inside of here. All the questions are rather similar. So I'll jump into this one on KPIs and PIs. This has to do with the enablers. Rate the extent to which each process contains one or more KPIs. Beneath the question, there's a tip. These tips do not show up in the final report. They're just here to add knowledge into the process of conducting this audit. Below that are the answers. I'm going to select evidence described, and you'll see later how these are all tied into the percentages. There's a place where I can make notes on observations, either positive, negative, make other comments. You saw the proceed button earlier. Before I do that though, the camera icon allows me to add attachments. I will add, let's add this PNG right here. Okay, while that's being added on, I can also, if I'm on a mobile device, I can directly take pictures and photographs. And below we see some more details here. Okay, so it finished loading it in. If I click on it now, I get the full high resolution image that is now attached to this assessment. We have other references for this one. There's extracts throughout. Click on this, it'll bring up the KPIs and PIs. So this is an extract out of section 3.1.2, pieces and parts pulled from pages 39 through 42. And so what we have is we have basically some more information that's embedded, knowledge that's embedded into the application. So once you read the book, you understand everything, you come and use the application, you have your references right there so you can, very efficiently run your assessment. The last part to show on here would be the auditor notes. These are notes that the assessor or auditor can take. These do not show up in the final report. They're real handy. Before you close out your audit, you can go back and find your notes. There's a search comments and author notes option here. Clean up your stuff, add some more attachments, organize your comments and observations. Or in the future, if you're reviewing your audits, you can also go and find your auditor notes. So there's also several ways to navigate through here. You can see the go back, skip ahead buttons. Proceed, that just takes us to the next question. The other ones is filters, just showing unanswered questions, showing questions that you've tagged as gaps, and searching by keywords or searching in the comments and auditor notes. So that was a real quick look at taking the assessment. Once all the questions are answered, then you can generate your report. And when you're really happy with everything, you can lock this down as a permanent record. I want to go to a different dashboard in programs now, and I want to show you authoring. I'll open up that same audit we were just in. I can see all my sections here. I can see the two questions that were in the introduction section. I can add new sections by clicking on add section plus section, or add questions to a section by hitting on the add question. I'm going to delete that question that I added. Let's go down and take a look at that same one we were looking at on KPIs, see what that looks like. So here's the question. Here's the tip. I can click on either one of these and update that text. I can choose the question type that I want. There's several different types. I can see the answer choices. By default, it comes up with yes, no, and NA for not applicable. I can select defaults, and I can specify what is the correct answer out of those options. Now here we've used the graduated correct answer type. And so what that does, it allows me to assign percentages to these different answers and specify which ones are to be considered a correct answer or exclude certain answers from being scored at all. The percentages are applied to a weight, which can be applied differently, different weights to different questions. So if some criteria carry a lot of weight, you can make that higher. Other ones may not carry so much weight. This is also where you can link in other references. I'm not going to link any in here. I can add new references, or I can click on one and update the references. So let's see here. What else might I be forgetting? Visibility logic. If I go up here, we can see in the section. Remember, I had these two questions about written processes, has to equal yes, and the measurable results also has to equal yes. Otherwise, that section does not appear. And these types of logic rules can also be applied to questions. The last dashboard I want to show is the marketplace. Subject matter experts can create applications and market them here to monetize their expert knowledge. There are some complimentary no-cost assessments and some paid assessments, such as the FDA regulations that apply to all food manufacturers, known as 21 CFR Part 117, the Food Safety Modernization Act. There's a few others in here, and this is also where you can acquire the authoring tools. You can go out onto Gapcross and run the sanitation complimentary one. There's a COVID preparedness complimentary assessment at no cost. With that, I will go back to our slides. So if you have any questions, want to learn some more about this, you can contact myself or Carrie Black. We've both been involved working with Eves and Grace on developing this assessment. And right now, as of this point, which is about mid-December 2020, this best practice validation you've seen is not available on the marketplace yet. We're working out the licensing agreement with the publisher, and as soon as we get that all nailed down, it will be available in the marketplace. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. Bye now.